Hey everyone, excuse my large print today, but we are at the beach and getting ready to go down there. But I wanted to hop on and talk about this because it's something I find so interesting and intriguing. I love to hear the stories of people who are highly successful, are highly skilled at this one thing that they're just great at and are an expert at, because it's interesting to me to see someone master something so well, and the story behind that, and the way that they keep it up, keep like this string of success and just highly effective whatever it is, right? So I've been reading a lot of stories about people, and I've also been reading studies of highly successful people, because this is a topic that a lot of people are intrigued by, because we all are curious about how people get to where they're at when they are just prolifically good at something, right? And so I've been reading a lot of research studies that have studied these highly effective people. And one thing, or a few things that keep coming up as part of a highly successful person's characteristics are some very common things. One thing is that they are very interested in solutions. So when they are approaching things, they aren't looking at it from a starting point. They're looking at the finish line first and working backwards. So they're really trying to problem solve, and their main objective, most highly successful people are trying to solve a problem. Their mindset is solving a problem, not creating something new, or not being the best at something. They're not thinking I'm trying to achieve the best I can at this. Their whole mindset is always geared toward problem solving. So I think that's interesting, because a lot of us are more focused on the day-to-day regimented scheduled tasks that get us to a goal, get us to accomplish a goal, and we're mainly looking at the end as what we want to achieve, instead of looking at, well, what's the problem I'm trying to solve? It could be a personal problem, it could be a world problem, but they're usually operating from a place of problem solving. So that's one mindset shift that I think is interesting, because there are so many goals that I want to achieve, but I don't think of them as problems or things that I want to solve. But I could see, if you were looking at it from that lens and that mindset, how much more effective your task would be, because your thought process is, I'm solving a problem, and that's very motivating. So I think that's interesting. I think we should all try to work in that mindset as well, because I see how it would prolong your motivation and determination to see that thing through, whether it's a goal ultimately, or a level of success, or whatever. If you're trying to solve a problem, your why, so to speak, is much more clear, and you're going to be much more motivated to fix the problem, right? The other thing that highly successful people do is they are very aware of needing support, and that has come up a lot. So highly successful people are visionaries, so they're really good at the big things and solving the problem and having the vision, but they're not so great at the implementation. And most highly successful people recognize that about themselves. So they were saying that highly successful people are very in tune to what they lack. And I think that's interesting, because a lot of us that are trying to do something or be great at something, we're putting all the weight on ourselves, and we're relying on everything about us to accommodate that and to make it happen. Where highly successful people are how can I leverage what I'm good at, but leverage what I'm good at and see the holes of what I'm not good at, and find ways to fix those holes, whether it's hiring somebody or working on that particular area of themselves, spend a lot of time on working on that area, but they're very conscious of what they lack. So, you could apply this like to athletes, and they were applying this to athletes. Like athletes, they know what they're really skilled at, and it doesn't mean they don't practice that, but they focus mainly on their weak spots. Because it's like you could naturally be a very gifted runner and be able to run very fast, but you may not be skilled at coordination. And so what they were saying in this one particular study I read is that most successful people spend a lot of time working on the things that they are not good at, or finding solutions for those things. So if it's a company thing, the most highly successful people recognize, I am really not good at XYZ. I need to hire someone to do that, right? Or in the case of the athlete, they know that they're not good at coordination, so they hire a trainer specifically for hand-eye coordination, so to speak, for example. And so highly successful people recognize their faults, which I feel like a lot of us don't do. Like we're so focused on what we're good at, and we don't want to spend time on the negative things, but highly successful people spend a lot of time on the negative things about themselves or what they're just not naturally gifted at. So that is very interesting, and I think we all could agree that working, and this is like a huge part of what I love to help people with, because I have learned tools and all this stuff to on how to better ourselves all the way around, and really focus on harnessing what we're good at, but fixing and working on the things that we're not good at to make us more well-rounded people. And so this is something that people who are very good at things are good at doing. They're good at recognizing where they lack and fix that, and that can be very hard to do sometimes, especially when it's something that we know, but we don't want to face it. And then, it can be hard. So that is another thing. They focus on what they're not good at, and they spend time finding solutions for those things. And the third thing that highly successful people do is they are okay with taking risk. And I know we've all heard that one, because if you don't take risk, you can't reap the benefit. But if you guys have listened to my most recent episode of the Thought Vault podcast, I talk about comfort. And I think this is the differentiation between highly successful people and the rest of us. The rest of us live in comfort. We like to just go about our day, go about the normal, not rock the boat, not push ourselves outside of our box, not push ourselves to think outside of our box, because that expends a lot of energy. So highly successful people are not afraid of expending energy. And that is, if you think of it that way, I think we can all connect to that, because I know for me, like adding one more thing to my plate or whatever, that is like, I can't, right? And I shut down with that thought, because it's like, I've already got so much going on. Or the compassion fatigue episode that I did on the Thought Vault podcast, where it's like, we're just so inundated with so much that we just can't possibly spend energy thinking about another negative thing or another emotional thing, because it's just, our brain just is like, too much, can't go there, right? And so we just file that away and don't think about it anymore. So I think it's very interesting that you guys take the time to make sure that you are okay with expending energy, because if you're expending energy in a positive way, you're going to reap positive benefits from it. So successful people, highly successful people, take risk. They don't live in that comfort zone. They truly are pushing themselves, pushing their resources, and some cases they're failing, but they're gaining so much wisdom that it helps them level up the next time they go after something, because they've learned from that failure. So just as I said in that episode, it's okay to fail. It's okay to not do things perfectly. But if you're expending the energy, getting out of your comfort zone, and quote unquote being a risk taker, you're going to learn from it and reap ultimate benefits from that. Whether you fail at that one specific thing or not, you're going to learn something from it, and you're going to gain so much more clarity about yourself, about the situation, about your journey, and where you're really going, and what God really wants you to focus on. Because I know I've been in situations where I haven't had clear feelings one way or the other to do something. And I think in those cases, God wants you to have faith and jump and do one of them, because he knows either way you're going to learn and be better for it and know more about yourself, know more about God, and have more clarity precisely on what you want. You know, sometimes you have a fork in the road and you choose one side and you go down that road and it's a complete disaster. And in the moment you may be like, oh my gosh, this is the worst thing ever. But then when you get to the other side, you're like, but I'm glad I went through that, because that probably would have always been in the back of my mind. Was that something that could have been? And you know the answer now. So it does make you more clear, right? So it's important to get out of your comfort zone. And if you haven't listened to that episode on the Thought Vault, please go listen to it, because I know it'll help you gain some clarity. I talk about ways to get out of your comfort zone, ways to identify if you're in a quote unquote comfort zone, what to do. It's a great episode, but that particular thing is what sets highly successful people apart from the rest of us. They are willing to get out of their comfort zone. They are willing to expend the extra energy and push their resources, push themselves to level up and scale up in whatever arena that they're in. So those 3 things again are: they get out of their comfort zone, they are in tune with what they're weak at, they don't disregard what they are not doing well with or don't have good skill at or all that stuff. So they're aware of their weaknesses, and they operate from a mindset of problem solving. They don't operate from a place of I want this goal and I'm just going to go after it. Their mindset is usually focused on solutions. So they're solving a problem, which keeps them motivated because they have a why. You know, like if you're solving a problem, there's a why behind that, and that keeps them motivated to keep pushing to solve the problem. So think about those 3 things, apply them to yourself, apply them to the situation you're in right now, and see where it takes you. I guarantee if you really sit down and focus on those 3 things and how you are aware of them or not aware of them, or if you start focusing on them, I think it'll push you to that next place you want to get to. And God's design for us is to move. We're not just supposed to be stagnant. So progress, push yourself, and get out of that comfort zone. All right, y'all, I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.